everybody. We're coming to you from the Epcot International Festival of the Arts at the Animation Academy here at the American Gardens Theater. So the show should be starting in less than a minute here. We're going to have a Disney artist come out and they're going to teach us how to draw a character. It sounds like it might be a Winnie the Pooh character, but I don't know anything positive yet. So there's the cast member at the front entrance who was giving us our paper. Made it sound like it might be a Winnie the Pooh character, but even she seemed unsure. So hopefully my arm doesn't get too tired holding the thing here while also trying to draw my characters.
Hello friends, we now invite you to join us for the Animation Academy. Please welcome your sketch artist, Matthew DeWater.
Hello everybody, thank you so much. Thank you. Welcome to Epcot, welcome to the Festival of the Arts. Welcome here today to the Animation Academy. Thank you all so much for coming. This is a big crowd, this is great, so thank you guys for coming. I am Matt. I'm going to be your artist and instructor for today. I'm a character artist for Disney Consumer Products, the Disney Creative Group, where we do kind of a little bit of all the in-between stuff for the theme parks, for the cruise lines, for Target, Walmart, for all the places where you find merchandise, toys, books, games, stuff like that. So I do the character artwork for that kind of stuff, which is amazing gig, love what I do. One of my favorite things though is to get to come out here to the parks and see all you guys, talk to guests, and share a little bit about what we do. And so we're here today to draw a character. If any of you were here for the last round, we just drew Winnie the Pooh, one of my very favorites, but we're not going too far. We're going to stick with his very best friend, Tigger. So, yes, very good. I guess I'm Tigger fan sometimes. So if any of you have done this before, who has done this before? First, you've done this before, and who's this is your first time doing a class like this? Very good, awesome. So glad to see we have a lot of first timers this time. So we'll go slow. We'll go slow and easy, and Tigger's a little more complicated than Pooh, but we'll take it easy. You guys can follow along with me, and we'll see how we do. So whenever I sit down to draw, I always like to talk about that I like to use reference. Okay, so a lot of, especially younger artists, I always encourage them to pull up reference, look at existing images, look at existing art of whatever you're trying to draw, to kind of get the ideas going, and also when you're drawing a specific character, to study, the expressions, the proportions, and everything. And so that's what the animators do when they're working on the films. That's what we do at work when we're working on the merchandise. And so I pulled up some old reference of Tigger here, and you can see this is one of the model sheets that they use in the 60s and 70s for the old films. And so they put together all of these reference images so that all of the artists can kind of stick in the same style and same proportions and make sure that Tigger looks like Tigger. And you can see here, this is, of course, how they, for those of us that are familiar with traditional animation, they, move him just a little bit at a time in order to make him come to life. And he's saying right there, I'm Tigger, T-I-double-G-R, right there. So Tigger's a lot of fun to draw. If you've ever drawn a character with us before, you'll know that a lot of characters start with a circle for the head, and we're going to do the same for Tigger. So we're going to start with a circle, but I want you guys to start very, very lightly. Okay, don't come in here with a heavy hand and draw a big circle. We're going to do very lightly, very sketchy, and just kind of find that circle. So I'm going to start with my circle here towards the top of my paper. Mine's about the size of a baseball or so. And you'll see, don't worry about it being a perfect circle. This is just kind of it's going to be a guideline for us overall for the shape of Tigger's head. And you'll see in the final drawing, we actually barely use any of this circle. It's just to get our bearings. And so to help with that, I'm going to put a couple guidelines in. I'll do one right down the middle, very light. Make sure it's dark enough for everybody to see. Very lightly. right down the middle, and that's just going to help make sure we've got all his features on both sides in the right place. Now, if you were here for the last class with Winnie the Pooh, we put his eye line kind of down towards the bottom, right? With Tigger, it's the opposite. We're going to favor the top. So right up here at about the, I'd say probably the, 1/4 of the way down, we're going to draw that horizontal guideline right there. Very lightly, just to give us a place for his eye line and his cheek line and everything. Okay, so once we've got those guidelines, we can start putting some features in. And with Tigger, I always like to start with the eyes. He's got those two tiny little beady little eyes, and it kind of, everything can go, kind of be, nestled from there. So Tigger's got these really beady eyes that go right together in the middle. So there's not much room in between them. Two little dots. There's barely even enough, there's not really enough room for one extra eye in between, so they're very close together. And that kind of helps with his kind of cute stuffed animal factor, right? We always, especially when we draw the Pooh characters, I always like to remember they are stuffed animals, or at least, most of them are. And, that kind of helps to keep in mind, because we always do like to make sure that we're thinking of the characters as living, breathing beings, right? And so that helps with the expressions, which we can kind of get into here. He's got these two little tops of his kind of eyelids, but you don't actually see the full shape of Tigger's eye. It's just a little notch right above each pupil. And then I'm going to do the same thing kind of underneath. There's also a little notch right underneath. Very subtle, but it just kind of, you can see the overall shape of his there. Okay, and then to kind of place those on his head, I'm going to do the top of his snout. He's got that big, giant Tigger snout. And so right underneath those eyes that we just drew, and kind of intersecting with the bottom of those eyelids, we just do kind of the middle. It comes right up to the middle in the center and goes down to either side. And that's the bridge of his nose. That's the top of that snout. And that's going to help us place his nose. Now, Tigger's nose is enormous. And when you see it drawn without the rest of the context of the face, it looks downright silly. So when we draw Tigger's nose, I'm going to follow that line that we just drew for the top of the snout. Then I'm going to bring it almost all the way down here to the bottom of his face. Big giant circle for Tigger's nose. And there's a little bit of his nose is almost a circle. There's kind of a little bit of a shape to it. There's, if you can call them corners, there's kind of corners up here, but it's very rounded. Okay, so he's got his big giant nose. All right. Next we'll come in and do his smile. So for Tigger, I like to bring, he's always a very expressive character. So I like to bring his cheek lines all the way up here past his nose, like past the bridge of his nose, right? So just a cheek line, smile line right up there, and a smile line right up here. Real big smile on Tigger's face. And you'll see that in just a second. Just get those little cheek lines in. And then for his smile, we're going to bring it down. It's going to follow the curve of the bottom of our circle. So check this out. I bring it down to the circle and then follow that circle around to the other side. So that's what it looks like on one side. Straight down, halfway in between the nose and the edge of the circle. And then it kind of merges with that circle. And same thing on the other side. Bring it down, and then follow the circle around. big giant circle, or a big giant smile on Tigger. He's very excited to be here. It's a beautiful day. Okay, and then to kind of set that smile into his head, he has the mask shape. You know, there's a color separation. He's got the orange of his face, but then his muzzle area is kind of a white cream color. So to do that from the side of the circle, I'm just going to draw a little curved line right there and right there. And it connects from our little from our snout line that we drew above the nose to the side of the face. Okay. All right, now I'm going to open his mouth just a little bit. This is where we'll break out at the bottom of the circle some. And I mentioned always thinking about how kind of expressive he is and finding ways to make these flat 2D characters have a little bit of personality, right? Well, right here for his mouth, I'm going to do kind of this little sideways thing. You can see I did a curved line that comes out underneath, but then rather than just making a nice little smile and curve it right back up, I kind of reverse it and do a straight line to show kind of the edge of his mouth right there. And so that's going to be the inside of his little bit of an open mouth. And you can see, you know, you can just from that little bit, it gives him kind of that goofy, you know, a little bit of a lisp to his voice, you know, the way he talks, and you can see that in that little bit of a drawing. Okay, and now he's going to start to look a little bit more like Tigger. Right now he looks, you can't really tell who this is yet. But this is going to help him start to come together here. So we're going to follow that curved mask shape that I talked about. Follow that down, almost back down to the smile. And then we're going to give him that big chin. Comes all the way down, almost double the size of that circle for the head. Not quite, but bring it all the way down. And you'll see there's kind of an S shape, very subtle curved S shape that brings it down. Right back up into the other side. And just with that one, you can kind of start to see Tigger in there for sure. So I'll let everybody get caught up. Tigger wasn't around for the very first Winnie the Pooh short, which was Winnie the Pooh and the Honey Tree, when you know, he goes up to the tree with the balloon and then he gets stuck in Rabbit's door and everything. Tigger wasn't around for that. And part of that is because Tigger is not in the first Winnie the Pooh book. And for the second short film, of course, being a fan favorite, they wanted to make sure to bring Tigger in. And so to animate him, they got one of Disney's legendary, very best animators, a guy named Milt Hall, who some of you may have heard of before. He was one of Disney's 9 old men, which he endearingly referred to as some of the top animators of the time. So he had animated so many, you know, famous Disney characters, a lot of the main characters in a lot of those early films. And so for this one, he got to have a little bit of fun. And Tigger, you know, he's such a interesting design because, of course, he's a tiger. And if you look at the A.A. Milne books, the original Winnie the Pooh books, Tigger is a lot more tiger-like in those illustrations. But Milt kind of streamlined that design and gave it this really appealing factor to it that made him so much more, you know, expressionable and just really fun. And so when you look at the progress of designs of Disney tigers, there's a tiger in one of the old Silly Symphony shorts that's very tiger-ish. And then there was Shere Khan, which Milt also animated, but it's you know, Shere Khan's a lot more realistic tiger, right? He's very intimidating and got a lot of force behind him. And so to see some of those same, if you look at a drawing of Shere Khan and Tigger side by side, a lot of the same properties still apply, but here it's been kind of cutified, right? and it comes across still so appealing, and that's kind of our key word whenever we draw the Winnie the Pooh characters, is that appeal. And so part of Tigger's appeal is the shape of his head. If we just put some ears on here right now, you know, we'd still have Tigger, and you'd still be able to tell who it is. But what really makes him fun, and when he sings his little song and he's bouncing around and he pulls on his ears and everything, you can really see that. But I think what really makes kind of the shape of Tigger fun is his face, or his head, is not a perfect circle. It's got kind of this flat top to it. So what I'm going to do is come off the edge of that mask that we talked about, kind of right to our guideline, maybe a little bit above the guideline that we had, so the same thing on the other side. And then at the top, it's going to go like this. Comes right across to the other side. So it intersects with the top of our circle that we started with, but then it comes all the way out and kind of has these corners to the top of his head. That just makes Tigger feel a lot more Tiggery, right? And so to fill in the top of his head, Tigger's got a lot going on at the very top of his head. So first I'm going to put his eyebrows in there. And the eyebrows themselves are going to follow the curve of our circle that we first drew. And so it's just kind of this thick, black shape. You favor the inside to give them that eyebrow shape. So they taper out towards the bottom, and they flare up at the top. Okay, and I'm going to do the same thing at the other side, and they almost touch at the very top. And you can kind of shape that in there. What's really cool, I talked about this last class with Winnie the Pooh, but Tigger's a really good example of this kind of animation technique, is where when you watch Winnie the Pooh, if you go home and you pause it, you can see the animator's really sketchy lines, and that happens a lot with Tigger. It happens in his eyebrows. You know, when you pause the movie, a lot of times the eyebrows honestly just look like that. And you can see how sketchy they are. You know, Tigger is like this. And if you pause the movie, you can see that sketchiness of the lines. And it's really interesting to see that, because they were Xeroxing the animator's drawings, and rather than cleaning them up with a perfectly clean line. And so in a lot of those movies, and especially in the 70s and into the 80s, you can see the animator's really sketchy style. If you pause it, it's all over the movie. Now, to close off his little eye mask there, I'm going to do another curved line that comes from the eyebrows right down into where his eyes are. So really all that's left of the orange of Tigger are these kind of side pieces around his cheeks. But this whole mask here is the white part, and the mask around his eyes is also the white part. Okay? And now I'm going to get his ears in there. So his ears come right out by those corners, and they're basically triangles. A little bit curved, but you can see the one point is going to come in behind his head, and it comes up, down, and back in. That's the shape of his ears. Very simple, you know, like I talked about, Milk kind of simplifying things. You know, Shere Khan has this very kind of detailed, he's got a lot more kind of curves happening to him, and then he's got the tiger, you know, the orange that comes in here, and it's the same overall thing, but Milt has just simplified it and went, no, that's a triangle right there. And that really pushes it into that cartoony, you know, appealing factor of what makes animation, right? And not just capturing real life. So I'll do the same thing on the other side. We got Tigger's two little ears here. And then to give them just a little bit of dimension, I'll do a straight line across. That kind of separates the orange of the outside of the ear from the white part of the inside of the ear. And same thing on the other side. Okay, and then if you want, a lot of times Milt will do this kind of like, little just kind of a notch. Looks like he's got a little ear shape happening inside. Okay. With that, we have our Tigger head. I'm gonna, so he's not just a floating head here today. I'm gonna give him a neck that kind of starts to go into his shoulders. Really simple. He's very, he's got kind of that thin, long Tigger body. So just coming out from underneath the chin and they flare out towards his shoulders. And if you want, even we might see just the very top of his belly. He's got that white oval shape on his belly. So we just see the very top of it. Okay. You can kind of come in here and solidify some stuff if you want. I'm going to shade in his nose just to get a little tone. You know, it's not about coloring it in, but getting some of that tone in there. He's got a darker nose. So just quickly, sometimes I'll even use the side of my pencil to kind of get some shading in there. Okay, with that we've got Tigger, but of course Tigger is a tiger, and right now he's missing one very important ingredient. What's he missing? His stripes, that's right. So on his face, there's not a lot of room for stripes, but he does have them. So you're gonna have to make them kind of very small and fit them all in there. And then on his body, we'll get to some too. So on his face, he's got 3 stripes on each side, kind of up here by the corners. So what we'll do is right here by the cheek, by the smile line, I'm gonna do one real small one, and it's just a triangle shape. It comes to a point, and you can shade that in. And again, this is the stripes are an especially good example of that Xerox technique that I was talking about. A lot of the times in the film, the stripes are just like that. And that's, you know, you pause the film and you can see those kind of lines. And you don't see it in motion when it's, you know, when you're watching the film and it's playing and he's moving around, it feels like Tigger. But when you pause it, you can see the drawing that is bringing it to life. And that is just one of my favorite things. And you know, it's part of what made me fall in love with character art and animation. So we'll do one more. So we've got kind of a jagged little toothy situation happening here. So 2 stripes that come up from that mask, come up from the bottom. And then I'm going to do one from the top of his head that kind of fits in between those 2. Just like. Okay, and we'll do the same thing on the other side. So it's one small one right up by his smile line, a bit bigger one right by the side, and then one coming down that fits right in there. So very small, but just that little indication of, you know, stripes happening. Now he's Tigger. There's an episode of the Disney Channel series, the 90s Disney Channel series, where Tigger loses his stripes, and so if you remember it, see? It's iconic. I love that one. I had the VHS. yeah, it's sitting somewhere at Mom and Dad's basement, I'm sure. Yeah, I love that series. And I put it on for my kids sometimes. It's on Disney Plus. All right, so he's got his stripes, and we'll do some at the bottom here now. Same thing, I'm going to keep these real sketchy and move one on each side of his neck, and then I'll come in here and maybe do one more down here. And maybe both sides, see a little bit. So you want to, they're not perfectly symmetrical. They're not even. There is a rhyme or reason to them. So once they start to clean them up, there's, you know, when we do Tigger on a piece of merchandise, we got to look at the model sheets and figure out, okay, this stripe wraps from this part of his neck, goes this far back. This one touches his belly, it comes across his belly. This one does not go across his belly. It stops right here. So there's a you know, specific spots for each of these stripes, but certainly for our purposes, we just kind of give the indication of stripes. And so once you've got those stripes in there, we are looking pretty good. That is Tigger. One thing you want to make sure to do before you call it a day is to sign your name. So I'm going to sign my name here. My name is Matt, and that has been Tigger. So I hope you all enjoyed. I'll give you all just a second to catch up, but I do want to just tell any younger artists out there that the winning Pooh characters are a really great way to kind of practice. They simplify everything down to the cutest little, you know, they've got eyes, they've got a big nose, they've got a mouth, and then you can kind of really get creative and have fun with it. So keep drawing, but before I let you guys go, I want everybody to hold your Tiggers up. I want to see them. And look at that. I see this. Now this is my favorite part because Tigger he's got a lot going on. He's got all this stuff happening with the stripes and everything, and yet I look out here and it looks exactly like Tigger, everybody. So well done, everybody. Nice job. Keep them up. Keep them up. I wanna take a picture with everybody's Tigger here. Let's see. What does Tigger say? Woo-hoo-hoo! Yeah. Okay. Ready? 1, 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3. All right, guys. Thank you so much for coming. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you have a blast here at the Festival of the Arts and Epcot. Thank you.
Friends, thank you for joining us for this presentation of the Animation Academy. We hope you enjoy the rest of your day here at the Epcot International Festival of the Arts.
Oh yeah. All right, thank you everyone for joining us for this broadcast. I hope you guys enjoyed drawing Tigger with a professional Disney artist. As always, if you're not already subscribed, then make sure you subscribe, and we will see you guys all again a little later. Oh yeah.